This is Hide the Myths, a place where we get together, different women from different walks of life, different levels of society, sit at a kitchen table and discuss the issues, economic, social, political, that affect them. Now, historically, the kitchen has been a place of oppression for women, a place with rules, a place that is but a footnote in the household in terms of how it's constructed, how it looks, how much is invested in it. But over time, a lot of feminists have made the case for reclaiming the kitchen and making it a place of warmth. Here at Hide the Myths, our Lugambo, which is viewed as senseless gossip, becomes eternal connections, becomes entertainment, becomes healing. You join us at this table, you will be ready to delve into conversations on everyday contemporary issues that affect us in a space that was built for women and that women are reclaiming to express their resistance to oppression, to make it a safer, happier place. So when you join Hide the Myths, like you are joining today, you are ready to delve into raw conversations, authenticity by women and for women. Hide the Myths is a symbol of all the things women of all ages across the African continent do to resist oppression and to survive in a system that was never built for them. Today, the conversation is called Dirty Pans. This is our first episode, and I have with me important guests who will also be co-hosts for this show. On my left is Margaret Onduri, who also happens to be my mother, and on my right is Margaret Katono. I am Patience Sakumu. I am a lawyer, I am a writer, I am a proud African feminist. Now, today, we shall have a cross-generational conversation, and that is the most interesting thing about Hide the Myths. It's about looking at issues through a feminist lens, through an African feminist lens, and just opening spaces for women who would otherwise never have had the spaces. Ma'am, can you tell us who you are and why you're here today?
Thank you, Patience. My name is Margaret Katono Onduri. I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to be part of this talk show and proud to be part of the Hide the Myth show. Being here, I want to take part in this to tell the world what happened during our time. How did we manage to hide the myth so that our kids would also have a share of what men really loved most? At that time, men wanted more meat. The bigger chunk of the meat should go to them, and the little portion that is left is for you and your little ones. Doesn't matter whether you get enough or not, it was not their problem. So the kitchen was not safe. No, it wasn't. I'm married. Then one time I went to my husband's uncle's house.
Ma'am, before you go into the husband's uncle's house, you did hide the myths in so many ways.
Yes, I did.
And you protected your children from not just the patriarchy and how greedy it is, how it wants all the meat, but there were things you did just so your children, your grandchildren could thrive. And we shall delve into that conversation in a bit. But let's first hear from Margaret and who she is, just a brief introduction before Mommy tells us how she hid the myths.
So hi, my name is Margaret. Katono Margaret also, and I'm probably the person who contributed to the kitchen least because I'm a terrible cook. So for me sitting here, I'm representing all the horrible cooks and all the people who didn't think the kitchen was a place for them because they sucked at it, you know. So today I'm going to give you my perspective on what I think the kitchen was to me and how I grew up, because, well, as I said, I suck at what the kitchen is supposed to be for. So I felt like I never had a place. But today, let's dive in. Let's talk about how I found my place and why, I can sit here and tell you that the kitchen, from where it was a place of oppression and a place of servitude, is now a place where we dance and we have fun. So yes, let's talk about the kitchen.
When we talk about the kitchen, Maggie and Mom, it starts right from the way they construct kitchens. It's usually the dirtiest, smallest room in the house. It's the last to be completed. It will stay untiled for long. They will use broken tiles. They'll use remnants of the paint. It was a place that was not invested in because this was the women's place. And yet, while this was our place, there were ways in which men wished to extend their hand in the kitchen. There were rules, don't laugh too loud, don't do lugambo. Don't be too happy in the kitchen. It's the reason why your food won't get ready or will burn. So, Mom, tell us, what have you seen? How have these rules played out in your life? And what are some of the things that we were told not to do in the kitchen? And what are some of the ways in which men extended their control to this space that was presumably meant for us?
Yeah, okay. Back in the day, the men were the ones who would build kitchens. The kitchen was set in a place outside the main house. And it had to be small and with a very small window. So the kitchen was made uncomfortable in general. It was not a place you'd wish to be in for long because the smoke is choking you. We didn't have the gas cooker. We didn't have even sigiri. We had firewood. So it was this uncomfortable place. So as I was saying earlier, I have an uncle back home. This man was a polygamous man. He had 2 wives, and what he decided to do, he built a very small kitchen for both of them to share. One kitchen for the 2 co-wives. And he built it telling them, I don't want this kitchen to be big enough. I want it small so that you can't invite in more women to come in and you gossip. So this small kitchen is for you. So these women had to persevere actually until they went to their rest. I saw this happening and I would wonder.
So what kind of man was this man overall? What did he tell his wives? What was his thought process in building this kitchen?
He thought if he built a bigger kitchen, the women would have space. And the other women, the neighboring women or friends would come in, sit, and the work would not go on. The food would not be ready in time. And then they would be free to involve themselves in gossip, a lot of gossip. And they sometimes think if women were seated in the kitchen, they were talking about the men. So they were not even safe. They were not secure when you had a friend coming in and you were seated in the kitchen. And yet this is where you can talk, you can whisper, so that he doesn't hear and come and pounce on you. So this man was a controlling man to the extent that his name was Aloysius in English, but back home we called him Alois, like any common person, village people. I didn't grow up in Kampala. So the people would say, Alois, Alois. Even the wives would call him Alois. So one day he got up and told the women, can all of you get out, sit on your verandas and practice calling me properly. I want you to whisper, Aloysius, Aloysius, Aloysius.
He wanted them to use his colonial name.
Yes.
So we are seeing colonialism, which we all know that came to reinforce the inequalities of the African society. So it is true that African societies were unequal, but enter colonialism and then you have a system that is combining with religion. So he's using, call me by my religious name. Yes. It's the mark of my superiority.
Yes.
And then you also have African culture. This is where the women should be polygamy, 2 women who could have gotten along if they had space in the kitchen, space to talk about violence they might have faced, sexual issues, all the forbidden things that we couldn't take to the living room. Okay, yes. So this family but a representation of the bigger issues and the ways in which men sought to control a space for women, and in which, even when we now get out of the kitchen in the workplace, you know, yes, we accept women, women are preferred, but there are subtle ways in which they're still saying, but wait a minute, are these women at higher managerial level? Are these women, you know, are they talking too much at the workplace? Are they presenting well? Did they pierce their eyebrows and show up to work? And all these ways in which women are invited, but terms and conditions apply.
Is she too assertive? Is she too loud? You know, asking some questions that our men are freely accepted to do.
Yes, yes. The standards certainly shift when it comes to us and the spaces, and that is why it is so important for us to reclaim the few spaces that were ever built for us, the kitchen, and build on the culture of our foremothers, because they survived. They had us, and we are a result of them, even if they had these suppressions. Before I move on to you, Maggie, and you tell me your experience of the kitchen, Mom, are there any other rules that the kitchen had that
Yes.
you remember?
Yes, there were rules. There were rules in the kitchen in that you had to cook while smiling. If you served food and the food was hot by the time it was at the table, you'd get a beating probably. They'll say, this woman cooked while she was angry. She was annoyed. How could she? Why is her food so hot? And then you wonder how you can control the temperature of food. The food is just coming from the fire.
Our anger fuels.
Yes, yes. And two, you surely had to hide the meat. You had to hide the meat, because if you didn't pinch a bit and put it behind the pot, everything will be, this one man can come back and say, we've not had enough, woman. How about that? So it's finished for the kids. No, the kids can wait or go and find omena, the fish, and eat. Give us even that. You can even promise, I'm going to buy you another one. And you'll not bring. So you and your children will have to start all over again, think of what to eat, where to get what to eat from. You had to struggle. You had to fight for your children to get something into their stomachs. Meanwhile, the men eat and stay. Throw one leg on top of the other, and they converse. You are still starving. You are still suffering in smoke to go and pick vegetables, or could go to your neighbor. Give me something small if you have. My children are starving.
So the woman who couldn't resist,
The
who
woman-
chose to feed the patriarchies.
You wouldn't stay. You wouldn't stay if you chose if you persisted. You would be called names. They even used to have banjos, those musical instruments. They would even play you a song about this woman who does not want to give meat to the wife, to the husband. And if you cooked chicken was even worse. If you had chicken, it's also meat. You'd have to cook and carry the whole saucepan out to where the food is going to be served. It was only the men that served chicken in the homes.
Wow, thank you, Mom. And that is beef. You know, you're talking about a time when women were in fact allowed to eat the chicken.
Yeah, because our time, but our mother's time, they were not allowed to eat. My mother's time.
That brings me to you, Maggie. Let me tell you a little story. It was Christmas Day. Like, you know, at home in the village, the men sit by the table playing cards for hours as we toil in the kitchen, underpaid and appreciated work, ensuring that they have a Merry Christmas. That day, turkey was on the menu. We prepared it. The women, the aunties, they prepared it and they served it. To their surprise, food did not reach the mats where the women and children eat on the grass. And Grandma said, no, I have had a revelation. We have broken our culture too much. This Christmas, you're not going to eat the turkey. Mom, do you remember when the turkey
Yes.
You remember when the turkey
Yes,
didn't make it to the mat?
Yes.
I was surprised. I don't even like turkey, but the women wanted the turkey and they were whispering and they did not know how to assert themselves. We didn't have sauce. We were, were left with meat and greens. And yes, it's very, very complex for women when it comes to the kitchen. Don't taste the food. There are so many don'ts for the kitchen for us. And somebody would say it was mom's time, but we've seen it spill over. So Maggie, what has been your experience of the kitchen's don'ts and the framing of the kitchen for you? Or do's? Maybe it changed somewhere along the way. I don't know, but tell me, what is your experience of the kitchen?
So my kitchen was amazing. I'm not even going to lie. It was great. For me, let's start. I never had anyone on my neck telling me, "Can you cook? Do you know how to cook? You need to come and cook." No, cause like, what do you mean? What do you mean I should know how to cook? That's insane. Another like, when you brought this up, I was kind of like, what are my experiences? Like, is this a place I feel oppressed or anything? And it was kind of like, nah. I just go and I say, oh, I'm hungry. Is there something? Okay, fine, and go. But no one is on my neck like, oh my God, you need to come and do this. You need to come and do this. So that brings it back to like, I kind of found my space. Because I always say, I don't like cooking. Like, I don't find it fun. Like, I don't enjoy it. And I'm just like, this is a fun thing to do for me, personally. So I always felt like, why should I go there and be people's way? But when I come here and you guys are cooking and I'm just, doing my own things, helping out, we are dancing, we're having fun. It's kind of like, this is not too bad. However, that's of course, when I went to my mom's side for the first time. They're probably watching. They're probably going to see this. So they should know. But I went there for the first time when I was around in P7 when I had got my vacation, and they asked me, "Do you know how to cook this?" Okay. Do you know how to cook that? I'm sorry, but then they were like visibly like, what do you mean you don't know? And I'm just like, I'm not gonna lie, I'm not going to cap. I do not know what you're talking about. But that was my first ever encounter with that kind of thing. Like, you have to be a useful working member of the kitchen. Like, you have to be doing something or you're sweating into that, like, for you to be part of it. You understand? So that was like a big shock to me because I was used to coming and being like, you talk about how women are in the kitchen, but for me, where I grew up, like in the house, I knew that my granddad is definitely going to cook. Like, I wouldn't even feel like a way of, he would come and he would cook, especially in her. Now, the thing is that it was usually in her absence, where he wouldn't come and be like, where's my food? He would literally enter the kitchen and cook the food. So my experience in the kitchen, thankful to the feminists who came before us, it wasn't bad at all. In fact, thankful for this kitchen that exists because I had a great time. I have a great time, except I hated the fact that one day you called me and then you gave me newspapers and gave me a matchbox and told me to start lighting. I probably learned to light matchboxes. Like, what do you mean? Girl, that was the worst. And that is my worst memory of the kitchen. Like, that is like, she called me, she sat me down, she gave me newspapers, mainly like of them, and told me, start.
Maggie, you've always had a complex relationship with a matchbox. You probably have matchbox.
Let's not go there.
And you're looking like bad parents.
Let's not go there.
But let's talk about the expectations for women. For me, Maggie, raising you, the kitchen, I think that it is a skill, cooking, feeding, nourishing yourself, that every woman should have. But it certainly shouldn't be the measure of my worth. When you go to your judge's place on your mom's side and they say, they reduce your worth to the kitchen and the things that you can do. And so many women, what you are alluding to is the ways in which earlier feminists asserted and said, we are getting the hell out of the kitchen. It's holding us back. I remember one time I was at an event and somebody said, you cannot move from kitchen to president. Get serious, you women. You have to move from kitchen to secretary to teacher, maybe doctor if you're lucky, but president, forget about it. And so women like you who are saying, you know what, I will get out of the kitchen. I will have survival skills, but this doesn't define me. It's edifying for me just seeing how you look at it. It's not a point of shame. But have you ever felt that for you and your generation, there are still some set of expectations? What does your generation aspire to? What does the kitchen stand for? And in what ways are you going to go out beyond the kitchen and conquer?
So in regard to if there are still, subtle ways of control, I think that I'm just lucky. Let's say like with the family that I got, I'm probably just lucky. But maybe if I spoke to my friend, she'd be like, bro, if my mom found me peeling matoke like that, she would absolutely have my head. Like who? Like you're squatting for our food, you babe. Like that would absolutely be that. So I guess I am just lucky. However, for me to give you my experience, and maybe let's say a friend I had talked to me, that statistically I would say that while it is dying down, that kind of like tomanyi kufumba, like you don't know how to cook, you don't know how to cook, you don't know how to do anything like that is phasing out. Like we have literally, how do I say, we have not left the kitchen, because I'm sure there are people my age who love it, who love to. I have friends, I have people that I see and they are just excellent at it and they love it and it's something that they enjoy doing. But that's a good thing. But without that, you don't know how to do this, you don't know how to do this, what about you? You should do this for us. It shouldn't feel like you're putting me on gun, you're holding my neck to do something. You see, so I think what I have realized, I have realized that there's a choice. But even if we have a choice, like there's still some people who are going to be like, mwana gwe tomanyi kufumba. Onswaza tomanyi kufumba. You embarrass me, you don't know how to do things. What do you mean? So, yes, it is still there. You see? So me, I'm lucky. And the people who are lucky, thank God that they're lucky, but it cannot all be good. Like it cannot all be like that for everybody. You see?
Maggie, there are schools where it's a mixed school, but the girls peel and the boys don't peel. If it's matoke, it's only the girls and not the boys who peel.
Yeah, that is 100% true.
So there are still these constructions of the kitchen that we know and of women's expectations. So in what ways is the young woman every day resisting? In what kind of conversations are you having? What are you doing when you are with boys and then they say, oh, go bring me my food? And they are still very much shaped by the patriarchy. Yeah. Or not, I could be wrong. So what ways are young people resisting constructions of the kitchen and expectations about them?
I think simply having conversations. I think when you hear your friend tell you that, you girl, it's like this in my home, or it's like this in my home, and me telling and like us having that exchange where you're like, you know what, at some point you have to live beyond that. I think it's something as small as a conversation, because it's your parent. You can't tell them, oh, I don't want to do it. But it starts as small as us talking like this, or us being in school and just jazzing about it normally, like, why is this a thing for you? Why can't you get up and get to it? And in regard to the boys wouldn't say something like that. They think
really?
19-year-old boys, the ones that I know, let's say the ones that I have encountered, I haven't had an experience where they tell me, say something inherently kind of like that. But if that is a thing, that's absolutely, it's okay. Not saying if that's a thing, that is 100% a thing. But in my case, and I also make it known that I will have your head. But I will have I will make it known that you want to try me like that. I'll try you and we shall try each other. You see? So I make it known. You see, but I have, like, even my friends, I've not had them have this where the boy is telling them, go and get my food. Because, you at this level in the big 25, you cannot be telling someone that. And then you get 40 and she gets a 90. So let these things speak for themselves. Like, you want to tell a girl that, but then the master gonna come out and they're gonna read your name and you have that and she has 100. Where do you fall?
Suddenly we are having
Where do you fall? Can you imagine telling someone that then you fail? Like, that's
we are at a time when women being able to appear in the public sphere, being able to achieve so many great things. I remember a couple of years ago, I think we had the first woman graduates PhD in mathematics from Makerere University, and people were obsessing about the graduation, but there were not conversations about this woman and her PhD in mathematics. The conversation was, what are the women wearing to graduation? Look at their clothes. And I found this quite appalling, because while we go forward in many ways, we are going backward. Conversation, you say, and I do agree that it's very, very important. It's exactly the thing that women have been excluded from. If the TV shows, they're dominated by men. The living room, it's going to be dominated by men. Every space for conversation, even as we've tried to push and say that we need more women experts, we don't have that space. And even when you go to the space, the way it's structured, there's no room for emotional expression, which people often say is a woman thing. There's no room for authentic expression. It's, big statistics and big issues, seldom the issues that affect women. That is why Hide the Myths is a really, really important forum for us to speak in our style about the things that matter the most to us. And I truly appreciate you, Maggie, for allowing to be part of this show. I'm hoping that we can go to so many kitchens all over the African continents, all over Uganda. Mami, thank you so much for being part of this show. I know one day we shall be in Karamoja, we shall be in a kitchen somewhere having conversations. I think women's banter, women's lugambo doesn't end. Viewers, you are at the Sunshine Kitchen. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much for being part of this conversation. Let us know if you want us to come to your kitchen. Follow us on social media so that we can continue this conversation. This is a safe space. This is a women's space. This is a safe space. This is a space where we talk about issues for women and by women. And now I will invite you to give some last lines, some last words, some parting shots as we close this pilot episode.
Yeah, thank you, Pesh. All in all, women belonged to the kitchen back in the day. But I'm glad that we are all coming out of this. Slowly by slowly, we shall be out. We shall never be humiliated again when we go to visit our daughters, our children at school, and we are wearing trousers, and I am 64 years of age, and I'm wearing a baggy trouser, and I knock at the gate, and the gate man tells me, stop, no trousers allowed here. As my daughter or son is running to hug me, they stop short. And do you know how you feel? You cannot fight this man. He wants to show you, they are scared that this is my office and you must respect and listen to me. And your child is there waiting to hug you, to welcome you, to say, Mommy, hey, welcome. But the scar is fighting with you because you are wearing a trouser, a baggy trouser at 64.
You left the kitchen in a trouser.
In a trouser.
Terms and conditions apply
Yes.
for appearing in public for women.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you very much. We shall get out of the kitchen and we shall be greater and greater people, and we shall be alongside men one morning. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Maggie, your parting shots.
So, while my conversation may make it seem like, okay, the work is done, or like, we can chill now because, people that are not like misogynistic and weird anymore, I promise there's still a lot of work to be done. I promise I suppose things like that. So I hope that as we have this show, as we do this, you get to see the different ways in which misogyny and the patriarchy have affected us and how we can get out of the kitchen, but as well as, start to love it. So that's all I can say. Let's learn to do better. Let's have conversations like this. Let's talk about these things. That's all from me. Thank you for listening.
And here at Hide the Myths, it's a wrap for our first episode. Thank you for joining us for this first episode of Hide the Myths, where we are causing change, building on our foremothers' culture of resistance, of hiding the myths of the everyday ways in which they challenged the ways in which the patriarchy sought to limit them. We are doing this one conversation in one African kitchen at a time. We look forward to you reaching out to us at Hide the Myths so that we continue to have conversations of affirmation, conversations of love, conversations of reclaiming our space and telling the world that even if we are in the kitchen, we shall make it a place of warmth, a place of change, a place of disruption. No matter where you place women, they will start trouble, they will cook up mischief, and they will change the world. They will leave their mark. And that is the conversation, that is the message that we at Hide the Myths will be pushing, one conversation in one African kitchen at a time. So reach us and let's talk about the kitchen and the disruption that is before our eyes through a feminist lens. From the Sunshine Kitchen, we are saying goodbye and thank you.